We just tried to recreate our concerts table with our new data types, but it turns out you can't create a table that already exists. To fix this, we just need to remove the table before we try and recreate it, which in SQL is called dropping the table. Let's add a line above our create statement and then type drop table concerts. And don't forget the semicolon. Now, if we run this, it will first drop the table, removing it from the database, and then add it back in with the create statement. Let's click Run, and then let's check out the concerts table. Notice that this time our columns have data types. Awesome, right? Let's try inserting some values. Back in our query, below our create table statement, let's add an insert statement. Let's type insert n2, and then the name of the table, which is concerts, followed by values, and then in parentheses, values for each of the columns. Let's use 1 for our ID, and for the date, remember we need to pass it in as a string using the right format. So just to make something up, let's go with New Year's Day of 2018. 2018-01-01. Finally, since the rest of the columns are varchars, let's just add 3 short strings like A, B, and C, and then finish with a semicolon. Then let's run it again and check out the concerts table. Looks good, but let's try it one more time with some more extreme values. For the ID, let's pass in 100,000 instead of 1. Remember that small int only goes up to about 32,000. So this number should be too big. But if we run it, it gets inserted just fine. Remember how I mentioned that SQLite doesn't really use data types? That's what's going on here. In SQL Server, these data types would mean something. But here in SQLite, they're basically just documentation and don't have any functional purpose. In fact, in SQLite, if you want to create a column with the type of Happy Birthday, you'll get a column with a Happy Birthday data type. However, even though SQLite doesn't use data types, most SQL implementations do. So to make sure you're well prepared, we'll continue to use the data types from SQL Server, starting by changing Happy Birthday back to small int. Awesome. It may seem weird to allow data types and then not do anything with them, but it's really a compatibility feature letting you reuse code between different types of SQL. If you've got a create statement from another version of SQL, regardless of what data types it uses, SQLite will create the table just fine. Now before we move on to the other 2 tables, there's one more thing we need to do with the concerts table. For each column, after you've specified a data type, you can also add a constraint. One of the most common constraints is to mark a column as a primary key, letting SQL know that each value in this column uniquely identifies a record. To add a primary key constraint to the ID column, let's add a space after small int and then type primary key. Then, to make sure it works, let's copy our insert statement and paste it on the next line. And if we run it, perfect! It won't let us insert a duplicate ID. That should do it for the concerts table. For our last step, let's add some more realistic data. Let's delete the insert statements, and then copy and paste in some new ones from the teacher's notes below. Then let's run it. And now we're ready to start creating the ticket holders table.